Hi there, back to part of something real. Super short video today. I wanted to share something that the Lord showed me in the spirit regarding male prodigals. You know, this is going to be very specific, so it may not be for every viewer, right? So what you do when you hear something and you wonder, oh my gosh, is that part of my story? Is that part of my heavenly romance? What you do is you then go and pray and ask the Holy Spirit, this message that I just heard from Nichelle with part of something real, is that part of my story, Holy Spirit? And then just wait on the Lord to reveal. Okay? So you have to test the messages that you hear. If you're listening to, a number of prophetic voices, this angle's super weird, so I'm gonna change it. Okay, it's better. So, you may just grab a hold of things because you think, oh, that sounds like it's my scenario, or, oh, I really want that to be, a message for me. Which I understand. And I can remember, you guys, I'm like now starting into the 4th year of this journey. But I remember like the first year, I would hear messages that sounded crazy to me. But I would keep hearing the same messages. And as time went on, the more I would hear it, the more it would start to resonate with me. Like, okay, I think this is for me because God keeps bringing it in through different people, different messengers, different prophetic voices. So that's another thing that might come up. But I'll tell you what, as you are out on YouTube or wherever and you're hearing these different messages about the kingdom spouse journey, there are so many common themes in this kingdom spouse journey. Because now that I'm in my 4th year, let me tell you, I've heard many messages. And then now I have all these journals of visions that God has given me for a while now. And I see that what God is giving me is very similar to what different people are describing in this space. So there's a lot of commonalities. Okay, so for whomever this applies to, the Lord showed me a middle-aged Caucasian man with a big barbell mustache, like back in the day. Back in the day, they wore their mustaches that way. And anyways, this man's face was covered in tears. He was so upset. And that's all I saw. But then the Lord told me the man is crying because he very much wants to help his prodigal, no, he's the prodigal, his standing, waiting woman who's in his life. And in this interpretation that the Holy Spirit gave me, he was saying the woman had children, and that this man was very, very impressed on his heart, moved in his heart to help her and her children. He wants to help her children too, but he definitely more heavily is burdened to help this woman. Also, I don't think the man is necessarily, a big crier, but he's crying because he could have helped this woman, but he didn't. And we don't know every reason. I've done some videos on the distractions that the prodigals in general have experienced. Some of them have had court, some of them got involved with other people and formed relationships with them. Some of the prodigals, brace yourselves, are baby daddies to more than one child. And they have had the discovery of their children come into their sphere of recognition. So they have had the women who birthed their babies um, out of wedlock come to them, or the children. In one case, I saw a young man, like a 20-year-old, a teen. He approached the prodigal in a grocery store. And that's where he found his, he must have been casing the man. He must have been casing his dad, because he approached him in like a Costco or something and told him who he was. And the man was like totally shocked, but he engaged the young man, kind of felt him out a little bit, talked to him, conversed with him, asked him a couple questions, and that's what I saw. So that's part of where your prodigals have been, is they have been caught up. Their past has caught up with them. So children have been coming forward. Also, court cases have been involved with some. I don't know if it's paternity suits, divorce court, but it's not criminal. But they're like kind of family court issues, and it could be business related as well. So that is pretty much it regarding the vision that I have to give you today, is that crying tears because of the remorse and the feeling bad that this person recognizes that their stander has been in a really difficult place financially. For those that have been in that difficult place, that's what this vision was about. The standing female had been struggling on different fronts, and really needed their prodigal to be in their life. They really needed them. And this barbell mustache guy, who had like blue eyes, very fair, he really looked Russian. That's what he looked like. Eastern European, Russian, whoever this is for. He was feeling really bad, you guys. So, okay, then I have something kind of difficult, or I don't know, I shouldn't say difficult, but just something about this journey that I want to tell you. You, standers and prodigals, especially for the stander, you are emotionally extremely connected to your prodigal. So much so that if you get frustrated with your prodigal and you are like, I'm done, and this happens to a lot of the standers. They want to take a break from the stand. Some of them like date people, and that's not recommended. That is a big no. But anyways, understandably, they get tired of doing this. And then also sometimes the stander, if they are looking at the social media of the prodigal, they'll see the prodigal's escapades, or people that they're involved with and whatnot. And so, naturally that can be very upsetting. And here's the thing. You will find that when you try to separate yourself, when you try to quit this thing, unless God gives you the green light to quit, unless God says, okay, that this assignment is, I'm going to give it to somebody else, and I'm going to give this person to somebody else. How you know that God is giving you a big red light on that? Like, no, I don't have a replacement for you at this time. I'm not ready to have you give up on this assignment yet, because some people do give up, you guys. Many people will give in and give up before this is over, because for a lot, it's a multi-year thing. It's kind of like getting a college degree. You're in it for the long haul. So, what I see out there with the different prophetic voices that are in this space, is that they have been in it on average between 2 and 4 years. That's about everybody. And there's a couple people that I started out with them when they were brand new, and their spouse came back to them in like 6 months' time. Only one, actually, I'm sorry, only one person that I know of. And I've seen a lot of these prophetic voices out here, so that's so rare. Usually it's a minimum of 2 years. So, just know it may be that long. Okay? And that's why we keep busy with our family, our friends, our purpose. Maybe we're going to go to school, we're going to go back and get a degree. Just pursue your life. Just totally go for having a good life despite whatever your prodigal is doing. Okay? All you have to do is pray when God tells you to pray. Sorry, I've got two dogs in here. So, how you know that God is not going to let you off the hook is you will feel miserable when you stop praying for your prodigal, or you just start praying like separation, separation, separation. You start breaking soul ties, and you start proclaiming, declaring, decreeing that you are not with this person, that God is going to bring you a replacement. You are not standing for this person anymore. If God gives you peace, great. You're lucky. You are so lucky. But if God does not give you peace and you just feel worse and worse and more not yourself, you might feel bitter, you might feel angry. It's like poison. When you try to sever the ties with this person that God has hooked you up with, you will feel awful inside, and it will not get better. It'll only get worse over time. So your soul gets poisoned. Okay, if you become toxic, you'll totally. I've been through this 3 times, so I know what it feels like. I recognize it. That is just God's way of saying, you share a bond with this person. When you try to tear away that bond and try to break this thing up energetically, it's like you're injuring yourself. And of course, it hurts the Lord too. Your prodigal also can feel every single time that you go into rampage mode or Rambo mode, on this energy connection that you share, the spiritual supernatural bond that you have, when you try to slice and dice that, if it's not working, right, if God's not permitting it, then the prodigal will feel it. Trust me. God will let you know that your prodigal knows what you're doing, that your prodigal knows that you are separating, trying desperately to separate from them. They'll feel it. They may contact you in the spirit. So if you're aware of how that works, and I'll wrap this up, many times your prodigal can speak to you in the spirit, and you can speak to them in the spirit. And it's very common. It's very common. So if you have not yet done that, you can try. So that's definitely one of the more magical, unusual, miraculous aspects of this kingdom spouse journey, is that there is communication inside the spirit realm. So sometimes you can see your spouse. Sometimes you can interact with your spouse in the spirit while you are awake. You can also see your spouse through dreams, right? God will give you dreams. You'll actually see the features of your spouse, their physical frame, their body type, their face. In my case, I saw my spouse's, or my prodigal's face before I ever met him. About 6 months before I met him, the Lord showed me a man in the spirit. And, I was praying. I was really upset about something, and I was praying to God about it, and the Lord showed me a man. And he let me know, like, this this is now the man. This is now the man. Because there was another man before this person that I'm now waiting for. Um, and that did not go forward. So I was having a prayer dialogue back and forth with God about what happened with that person, and God told me what happened and why that person didn't come forward. And I had seen that person in the spirit too. So then God was kind of like, this is who the person is now. 6 months later, that person walked into a place where I was working on a project, and boom. So I did get to talk to the prodigal a few times before they fell off the face of the earth. I'm just kidding. Before they went and like just lived their own life and dropped off my whole world. So that might happen. Whatever. You just got to say whatevs, because that is very common, is that you don't see them. You totally lose contact, but you do communicate in the spirit. So don't feel totally forlorn and just like, oh, I'm never ever ever, when will I ever? No, you might be able to have interactions with that person through the spirit. So ask God about that, pray about that. But that's about it for today. God is not allowing you to have a replacement when you declare, decree, beg, just try to just cut your prodigal off in terms of communicating, texting them, calling them, communicating in the spirit. When you just are like, I'm done, I'm so done. But God is like, really? If you're just miserable, and your whole personality is changing, that's how you know that God is not going to give you a replacement at this time. But I do believe in replacements. God has shown me that that is a thing. So some people don't agree with that, believe in it. I think there's a biblical basis for it. And maybe we'll do a video on that sometime in the future. Okay, guys, until the next one, take care.